All right, folks, here we go. It's another week of college football. BangTheBook.com. Don't forget the sports betting podcast. Brian Blessing, always happy to be with you, making the rounds here in Las Vegas and the sports books. And we always try to do our level best to get you ahead of the curve in terms of where numbers are moving. And specifically college football, we know these numbers can move, dance, steam at times. Let's talk about some of the movers here as we approach the weekend with Iowa and Northwestern. Northwestern was a 1.5-point favorite. It's actually swung across with Iowa being a slight 1.5-point road favorite. Respect for that Hawkeye defense. Tulsa and Connecticut, the bottom line is Tulsa's a 6-point favorite, but the total is the story here. And we know Tulsa's a high-octane team, but Connecticut can put points up in droves as well. The total in this particular contest has gone from 71.5 up to 75.5 and can go even higher. SMU Cincinnati, there's been a lot of money on the home dog. It went from 8.5 down to 7.5, and it is approaching the key numbers. So if you're thinking of taking the points with the Bearcats, best be doing it soon. This likely gets to 7. Buffalo has quarterback injuries in the MAC going against Miami of Ohio. Nonetheless, we've seen Miami a 3-point favorite down to 2.5. The Bulls defense has their moments. They can be pretty good, although we've had that one historic 7 overtime game. But there's a little respect for Buffalo here against Miami of Ohio. And other games in the MAC specific to totals, we're seeing the Akron-Toledo game soar from 56.5 up to 60.5. And Northern Illinois at Bowling Green, this Huskies offense is pretty good. That total's gone from 52 up to 55. One more MAC game down to a key number. Kind of a regional rivalry game, Western Michigan, Eastern Michigan, -4, Western Michigan now sitting as a 3-point favorite. Let's go to some of the bigger, higher profile games. Indiana, Michigan State. We had Michigan State a 7.5-point favorite. This has come down and through the key number of 7. It is down to 6.5 in this spot. Michigan State is the favorite, so some respect for Indiana. BYU, it's just been a grisly season for them. Their offense has been pedestrian, but East Carolina can't stop anybody. To that point, the road trip for the Cougars is resulting in a play on the over from 55.5 up to 58. Now we get to, some of these spots that are the players just gravitate to, and that would be a letdown spot for Syracuse after the upset of Clemson. They're on the road at Miami of Florida, 14.5 on the Hurricanes, and that number has shot up to 17 and may go even higher. Then you get Michigan and Penn State. Big game. Penn State's gauntlet starts now. What a great season the Nittany Lions have had. But they get Michigan, Ohio State, Michigan State in successive weeks. The total is the story here. It's a very low total of 42. They are thinking, with Barkley, Penn State's going to put some points up. That total's gone up to 45. BC at Virginia. This is the number that's come off the key number here. Bronco Mendenhall doing a decent job with the Cavs, but that number's come in. The money is on the Eagles here, as that is now a 6.5-point number. Let's go with Central Florida and Navy. I think this is a game that conceivably has track meet written all over it, but you are seeing some support for Central Florida. Golden Knights on the road here. They've gone from 7 up 7.5, and that is a big hook for a road favorite. How about Oregon and UCLA? At first blush, you look at it and say, oh boy, 2 high-octane teams, lots of offense. Well, the odds makers put up the 70.5, and the professional money's coming on the under. It's down to 67. UCLA a 6.5-point favorite in that game. Arizona, they're finding some new blood with their quarterback. They've gone from 1 up to 3. The game at Cal. I think Cal could have a letdown in the Washington State game, but it's also correlated to the total, which has gone up in that game. Arizona and Cal from 59 up to 62. And then a big game every year, USC Notre Dame. Notre Dame was a 4-point favorite. It's down to 3.5. You may end up seeing 3s in this spot, but they're betting the over like a good thing from 59 up to 65. And then LSU at Mississippi. LSU opened 7. It's below that key number, down to 6.5. And finally, I mentioned Washington State earlier. What happened to them against Cal is beyond belief. But now they take on Colorado, and they're thinking that letdown and that offensive struggles continue here for the Cougars. That total's gone from 56.5 to 53.5. And you heard there in this little report, that these numbers can move 3, 4, 5 points at times, especially the totals. So we always try to get you ahead of it because sometimes it's not who you bet, it's when you bet them. And that's the kind of information you get on the Bang the Book Sports Betting Podcast. Always follow along on Twitter at Bang the Book. I'm Brian Blessing, glad to be with you, getting ready for college football here in Las Vegas at bangthebook.com.